All right, guys, I'm back with another video. So I have dropped my bobbin into my machine. On my sewing machine, I have an area where I can drop in my bobbin, okay? You'll know if you have a drop-in bobbin on your sewing machine by basically you can see this little clear kind of plastic window, and this tends to be on more modern machines. And so you'll have this little plastic window here, and you can kind of see through down to the area where you drop the bobbin into. Okay, now what I can do here is I can actually pull this back. So I'll pull it back for you to see. Gotta pull it back. Hold on, I gotta use my thumb there to pull it back. And as you can see, my thread is coming up here. Okay, so the bobbin thread is coming up. All right, now on your machine, guys, what I can tell you is that how you drop the bobbin into your machine is going to differ depending on the type of machine that you have. I have a Brother MZ53 sewing machine. And so on my sewing machine, I have the feature where I can just drop in the bobbin. Okay. When I brought my sewing machine, what was great is that they actually had an already wound bobbin already into the machine here already. This is different. This is a bobbin I personally wound myself. However, if you want to start off with the already wound bobbin that comes in your machine, you definitely can. Okay, so my teacher for my sewing class would say that I was cheating if I used that. So let me put this back in here. Hang on just a second. Trying to get this in here. Give me just a second. All right, I needed both of my hands to slide that back on there, so I made sure that it was on nice and snug. Okay. All right, so how I learned to do the drop-in bobbin into my machine is I learned it from my beginner sewing class. If there's a beginner sewing class in your area that can help you with learning how to wind a bobbin and how to thread your machine and how to drop a bobbin into your machine, then that's going to be helpful. Okay. Now, most of the time, if you're taking a beginner sewing class, your teacher may assume that you already have a sewing machine. If you don't have a sewing machine, that's completely okay. You don't have to have one, but your teacher can definitely give you recommendations of the best type of sewing machine for you to work with, especially if you're a beginner and you're not really sure too much about what you're doing. There's a lot of sewing machines out there, varying price ranges. My sewing machine cost me about $150 plus tax at Walmart. They don't sell the sewing machine anymore. It might be on Amazon somewhere. When I checked Walmart at the beginning of this year, I did not see that they had this sewing machine that I have anymore. I'm still learning my way around my sewing machine as well, but I think that the more you work with sewing machines in general, it's going to really help you. Now, some of you might be saying, well, what if my sewing machine doesn't give me the option to drop in the bobbin? What if that's not an option? What if I can't see through here to see the bobbin? What if I can't see it? Well, if you can't and you happen to have an older or vintage machine, maybe you inherited a sewing machine from your grandmother or, maybe someone else, or maybe a family friend or someone else, or maybe you brought a sewing machine from, you know, Goodwill or a secondhand shop or Facebook Marketplace or something like that. That's okay if you did. Okay, it's completely okay. If you have an older machine, I have a vintage machine that I have. It's a 1950s machine that I recently brought. I have not really gotten into it or anything like that. I know it's a good working machine because of the people who I brought it from made sure it's all nice and tuned and everything like that. So it's in great condition. But since it's a vintage machine, I want to give it some time before I start working with that. So if you cannot see through and see a bobbin on your sewing machine, you may have a sewing machine where this whole area is metal. Okay, and you cannot see the bobbin. On your sewing machine, it may be the case where you may have to look down. There may be an area, this may be all metal here, okay? And you may have to pull back the side, like here on my machine. This is just a storage area right here. But on an old vintage machine, there's an area where you can literally, you can pull it back, and then there's like a metal casing area, and then you would have to put the bobbin down in there. I actually seen it when I was at my sewing class and everything. Someone had a vintage machine and their bobbin didn't drop in. It is actually had to go way down, like down here. Okay. And they had to put it in the metal area. Okay. And for the girl who had the machine, it was a little complicated for her to do. But my teacher knew her way around that kind of sewing machine, as well as a more modern machine like what I have. Okay. Now I have a manual machine. This means that I actually have to do the turning and different things like that of the machine because it's manual. This machine is going to last a lot longer for me. I have what my teacher called a plastic machine. It's plastic because all the parts of my machine are plastic, mostly. Older machines or vintage machines, they're going to be metal machines. They're going to require metal parts. Okay. So I'm still learning my way around a sewing machine, but I am like learning along the way. And I'm still very much a beginner, and I'm very proud of taking my time. Okay. One of the ways that you can learn, surefire ways you can learn to put a bobbin into your machine is going to a beginner sewing class, because you have that one-on-one instruction. And if you are doing anything to make a mistake, your teacher can stop you and say, hey, what are you doing? Let me show you what you have to do. And your teacher can have you practice, winding your bobbin, threading your machine, dropping in the bobbin and everything like that. Also getting the thread to come out from the bottom of here and out the bottom of the machine and up. Okay. What I do to get the bobbin thread out of here is I use some scissors so that I don't end up poking my finger with a needle. And I rather use the scissors to try to get that thread out, because there's going to be a little loop that's going to come out the bottom of the machine and stuff when you turn the hand wheel down and bring it up. There's going to be some threads that comes out the bottom, and I use some scissors to kind of move it out the way of the needle so that I can pull the thread back. Okay. So there's a lot of tips you can pick up in a sewing class that I super duper recommend, because it's going to make things a lot easier. It's going to make you more comfortable with using your machine. It's going to make you feel happy. Okay. I wish I could show you guys like step by step how I did it. I used my sewing machine instructions to go ahead and drop in the bobbin, as well as to bring that thread out, and it took me all of about maybe let's say it took me about like 5 minutes to do. The first part was probably about a minute, and the next it was probably like maybe 4 minutes to get the thread out of here and stuff. And that included me looking at my instructions. But the more comfortable you get with your machine, the better you're gonna be with like doing certain things. So that's pretty much all I want to tell you guys about right now in terms of trying to drop in the bob